Dry your eyes, Callum McGregor, because Celtic have something to celebrate. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. And no, Celtic might not be champions of the Scottish Cup, but they are going to be seated in the Champions section of the Champions League. And this has been confirmed after Rijeka won the Croatian League. They overtook Dinamo Zagreb on the last day of the season on goal difference to win the Champions League, to win the Croatian League and earn their qualification into the second qualifying round of the UEFA Champions League. And that means that Celtic are now guaranteed to be a seeded team in the playoff round. And why is that? Well, it's all because of the coefficient. Obviously, you get into the playoff round, there will be 10 teams remaining at that time in the Champions section, and Celtic are now guaranteed to be in the top 5 of those 10 teams in the coefficient. Now, had Dinamo Zagreb qualified, they would be above Celtic in the coefficient, and that would mean there would be 5 teams in the Champions League qualifying rounds with better coefficient than Celtic. And if all 5 of those teams made it into the playoff round, then Celtic would have been unseeded. But because Dinamo Zagreb are now not in the Champions League and Rijeka has got a low coefficient of only 12,000 points, Celtic are already in the top 5 coefficient. And if all the top coefficient teams qualify for the playoff round, Celtic will still be 5th, and therefore they will be a seeded team. And what does that mean? Well, it means that they cannot get a fellow seeded team in the playoff round. So they're going to get an easier tie, so to speak, in their one-off playoff round, I guess. They've only got one game to win. Win it, they go into the Champions League. Lose it, and they will go into the Europa League. So Bodo Glimt, they are the highest team in terms of coefficient, so they will be seeded 100%. Good news for Celtic is they cannot get Bodo Glimt now. Had Dinamo Zagreb won the Croatian League, Celtic could have got Bodo Glimt in the playoff round, but now they can't. Other teams that Celtic cannot get are Copenhagen, who have got 44.875 coefficient points, Red Star Belgrade, who have 44.00 coefficient points, and Ferencváros, who have 39.00. So that was the 4 teams with higher coefficient than Celtic. Like I said, Dinamo Zagreb would have been the 5th team, but they didn't make it. They lost the league on the last day of the season. On goal difference, man. How shit is that? I think they lost it by I think it was goals scored. I'm pretty sure it was level on goal difference. I think they lost it on goals scored. So that's a shocker. You normally would expect Dinamo Zagreb to get the win, but it didn't happen, obviously. So here's the teams that will be in the Champions League qualifying rounds. Celtic, like I said, they are in the playoff rounds. You've got the second qualifying rounds there. You've got the first qualifying rounds there. This is all the champions path. So every team in here has won their respective domestic league. So these are all the champions of Europe. And one of these teams, other than the 4 that I mentioned, Bodo Glimt, Copenhagen, Red Star Belgrade and Ferencváros, one of these teams will be Celtic's opponents to find out who they get in the Champions League. Now, I think, realistically, we know it's not going to be anybody, down this end of the spectrum. When you look at the likes of teams from Kazakhstan or Malta, Andorra, I just don't see any of them getting to the playoff rounds. You got Linfield in there, these Icelandic teams, the New Saints. They're not going to make it there, are they? You're going up, and who's got the best chance realistically of the teams entering in the first qualifying round? There's some decent teams. You've got Malmo in there and Ludogorets. Those are teams that we've seen do okay in Europe. But realistically, I'm not too sure any of these teams in the first qualifying round are going to be one of Celtic's opponents. I think that they will be eliminated before they get to the playoff round. It's more likely to be a team from the second qualifying round. So you're looking at anybody really from Maccabi Tel Aviv down. So it could be them, could be Slovan Bratislava, could be Karabag. You got Dynamo Kiev in there, Lech Poznan. Could be the Croatian champions Rijeka. It'd be kind of fitting if they got Celtic, considering they helped them get the seeded section in the playoff round. It could be Rijeka versus Celtic, but I mean, it will be one of these teams. So Celtic, they've narrowed it down. You know, they know who they can't get, and they can't get Bodo Glimt, Copenhagen, Red Star, or Faros, but they'll all be getting one of these teams. And you're looking at it here, and Celtic should be able to navigate, I would say, any team. Who's the hardest? Out of all these teams, who would be the hardest? I mean, is it Dynamo Kiev? Is it them? We know that the Ukrainian league has declined over the years for for multiple reasons. But I mean, Dynamo Kiev, they beat Rangers, didn't they? It probably is them. I'm looking at the teams, and I think, although, I mean, don't forget, it could be Basel and it could be Storm Graz. Both teams will be in the playoff round, and they've got lower coefficient than Celtic. It could be Basel, actually. I'm looking at it. I'd say Basel, probably the hardest team that Celtic could get. I'd say that's the one team that Celtic would probably want to avoid, looking at it here. But you guys let me know, out of this list, who do you think Celtic would want to avoid the most? Shelbourne, very low down. I guess it's because normally they don't win the Irish League. I don't think... They're not usually in Europe, so that's why they've got a lower coefficient, but interesting to see them in there. I mean, will we see one of these? I mean, obviously we know what happened with the Conference League last year. We seen a Welsh, a Northern Irish, and a Republic of Irish team make it that far. Could we see Linfield, the New Saints, and Shelbourne once again get into the Conference League? I think it'd be cool. It'd be interesting to have teams to look out for sure. In terms of the league path, obviously that's everyone that is qualified for either finishing second or third. That's where you've got the likes of Rangers in there, and they'll be looking to qualify for the Champions League. Whether they can do it or not, I mean, who knows? The coefficient's pretty decent. I would expect them to be seeded in the third qualifying round if they make it that far. Rangers, of course, have 3 rounds to progress through in order to qualify, and they've got some better teams. Straight away, you can see the likes of Club Brugge in there, Benfica, possible teams Rangers could get if they're not seeded. So straight off the bat, Rangers have a much tougher task of getting through to Champions League, not just because they've got 3 ties to win and Celtic only have 1, but just the quality of the teams here that Rangers could be playing. You can just see that they're notably better, but that's what Celtic deserve, because they won the league, so they deserve the easier path for sure. And I mean that's pretty much it then. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Rangers will be seeded for the second qualifying round. I imagine they'll probably be seeded for the third qualifying round as well. The only thing is, I don't think they'll be seeded for the playoffs, but we'll have to wait and see. Celtic, though, are seeded for the playoffs. As you can see, they're confirmed with Bodo Glimt, and we'll have to wait and see who the rest of them are. But there you go, guys. Celtic seeded because Dynamo Zagreb could not win the league on the final day of the season, and I think that they should be able to qualify for the Champions League, but they should have been able to beat Aberdeen, and they didn't do that. So I mean, who knows? Who knows what will happen? And new season won't be long. It's quick summer, and then before you know it, the qualification games for the Europe's competitions will be underway, and we'll see who's going to qualify, and we'll see who's going to, be leaving Europe early. Anyway, guys, that's it. Leave a like, leave a comment. I'll catch you in the next one. Till then, peace.